Hey there, listeners. Welcome to the Portside Podcast, the podcast where young is a word, but not a number. Your podcast for young cruisers. My name is TJ. I'm your host. And if you're new here, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, comment, and enjoy the show. What's going on, guys? Let's get right into it. It's your host, TJ. This is the Portside Podcast. And today we're having a discussion. That's right, a discussion video. Nothing serious. Still not doing a full-length podcast just yet, but a discussion video. And today we're going to discuss, should cruise ships offer more nightly activities? Now, this one, of course, is personal to me. You know what I'm saying? I honestly didn't enjoy cruising at first. I did not enjoy cruising until I became 20. And I started to decide that if I'm going to be cruising with my family for this time, I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy the cruise ships, and I think that's fair, right? I didn't really get into the nightly activities on the cruise ship because, honestly, let's be real, there pretty much aren't any. So, what am I talking about with nightly activities? A lot of people would kind of say, oh, from the hours of 5 to 11. I'm like, those are evening activities. You could say they're nightly activities, sure, but they're more evening. I don't want to give the benefit of the doubt like everyone's really like up and about even at like 9 to 11 p.m., but let's just like add that in there as a way to give leeway to the discussion, because the real issue is that there aren't nightly activities or nightly events happening later into the night, into the what I call the club hours. And I feel as if, like, okay, I get it, like the staff has to take a rest, but at the same time, I think that a lot of the younger cruisers would be very much appreciative if nightly activities were extended into at least the 12 a.m. time. And the reason why I say that is because how a night can go and how people decide to spend their night on the ship could actually be very much, enhanced. That's a good word. It can be enhanced by the kind of like the run up, stock terms, the run up to the nightclub kind of like section of the night, right? So now most cruise ships, unfortunately, they end their nights at around like 11 p.m. I would always like be so aggravated, like why? At least extend it to 12. And by that end, I mean like the last comedy show may end at like 10:30 p.m. The last like theatrical show or event may end at like 11, right? And then it's kind of a shame to see like most people kind of just go back to their rooms and not really just say like, oh, that's it for the daily activity list, and that means the night's over with. And then like that's not exactly true, because the thing that sucks is that if you read through the activity list for the evening, you can sometimes see really at the bottom that they are actually musical related, usually activities that I feel like all ages should be able to go to. But I'm going to speak directly just to like the 18 and older crowd, the 18 to 29 crowd, right? I feel as if like cruise industries have to kind of get to the point where they understand that those younger folk who cruise and enjoy their cruises the first times they do it could potentially, and honestly, and in my case, it happened, can become repeat customers for your cruise line later on. Now, I've had amazing experiences on all three of the major cruise lines for America, which is Norwegian, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean. I can't even pinpoint which specific event on a cruise line it was better than one other. Like, each of them have had some pretty amazing events that have left me just being like, yeah, wow, like this is something that they should be doing as often as they decide to do the repetitive comedy shows. You know what I'm saying? Not that they're bad. It just sucks that sometimes with the comedy shows, you go on the first night of the ship and then you go on the fourth night of the ship and it's the same jokes. And you're just like, well, I don't have to sit here for this, but it's not bad. It's just, I already heard this stuff. So it's kind of a situation where like, now I have all this open time. I have to figure out what to do. Just so the listeners know, a little bit of personal information about me. I am an only child. I'm what they call an only child. So when the elders in my family get tired around the 7 o'clock, 8 p.m. time, once they go to bed, like I'm just roaming the ship effectively by myself. And the thing about it is, when I was really young, I used to hate this because I was just so much more introverted and socially anxiety, that the fact that I didn't have anyone to kind of like just feed off of made me just not want to really hang out at night on the ship, despite knowing that there was still things happening on the ship at night, such as the nightclub activities, right? I wanted to go, but I was just too awkward to go. So I had a very negative outlook on cruising because I wasn't tired. Now I'm forced to effectively go back to my tiny interior room and just force myself to go to bed for the next day. And it wasn't until I eventually became 20 where I ended up starting to just, become more open due to life experience, obviously, off the ship. But when I went back on a cruise in my 20th year of life, I ended up actually exploring the ship at night more, walking around the ship, taking in the sights and views, kind of just seeing like how the ship is when most people are asleep and it's pretty empty. It's kind of ominous, but at the same time, you do run into like a pretty good amount of people who are staying up late. And the thing I realized, um, when it comes to the transition from day to night, is that the amount the amount of people you think you wouldn't see, you actually see more of. Like, if you thought that those people who were drinking on the top deck, drinking on the Lido deck on deck 11 around the track area with the buckets, if you think they got the drunk out of them during the daytime, nah, bro. They're at the nightclub at night, or they're sitting at one of the bars, like in the atrium at night. Like, it's not over. Like, that's a party family. I've ended up learning that, like, there are many people that I've interacted with who have many different ways of how they decide that they're going to cruise. And from the transition from day to night activities, I just feel like they really, when it comes to the cruise lines, they kind of skimp on the nightly activities. Not even kind of. It pretty much is a skimp until they want to do more bigger events. And this is where it kind of comes into play, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, like my experiences with the transition from day to night activities has been kind of jarring in the fact that you really make your own fun at night on the ship. When it comes to day activities, you can follow the in Carnival's terms, the fun times, right? You could follow the daily activities and kind of get a full experience of what you're looking for through those activities. But at night, you kind of have to rely on your own type of like, social intuition to decide on how your nights are going to be. Are they going to be more lively or more chill? But I feel as if anyone can sympathize with me being a solo traveler between the hours of 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. That it can be a little bit, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I guess not uncomfortable, but a little bit like, a little bit scary for those who are really young. And I also couldn't really drink, so there wasn't any way to really relax myself. I'm not the kind of guy who needs a drink to kind of like have a conversation. But, it's a situation where it's just like that crowd of 18 to 20 are treated like adults, especially when you're on land. When you're on the islands or like in Mexico, if you're like doing like a Western Caribbean cruise or whatever, like when you're there, they treat you like an adult. Like, you can drink at any one of the establishments or bars on land once you're off the ship and in those specific locales. But when you're on the ship, because it left from America, they follow the laws and rules of America. You can't, so you're not really, it's kind of like, it's kind of a lot of like nonsense personally. But it is what it is. And the reason why I say this, that maybe it is better because ultimately, there are two ways to experience like the night that I realized when it comes to cruising. And one of the ways I've experienced the night was with the idea that only the adults are awake. And for those of you who actually have roamed around the ship at night, the adults are not the only ones awake at night. And I didn't even realize this, but of course there's like thousands of people on the ship, but I didn't assume that like out of the thousands of passengers on the ship that of course there's going to be a couple of parents who like do not care what their kids are doing at night and do not plan to like, they just tell their kids, hey, look, don't die, don't fall off the ship. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? This is my vacation too. So there are times when I am absolutely startled by the number of like younger folk just running around the boat at night. It's one of those situations where it's jarring. Like, wow, that they're just mobbing on the ship. Look, I honestly feel like sometimes like I have some funny stories to tell, but like there's one time where like I'm half drunk coming down the steps at 2 a.m. from the nightclub, and I'm just over here trying to keep myself leveled with the rocking ship and everything. Because I don't know if you guys realize this, but I feel like and this probably might be confirmed, but the ship actually goes faster at night than it does during the day. So it's just harder to keep your balance. So I'm going to the bottom of the steps, and if you guys don't know, usually on cruise ships, the steps go into like a spiral motion. So they're not steps that kind of go directly up or directly down. You kind of have to do a turn, kind of like a U-turn to go down the next flight or up the next flight. And sometimes in certain cruise ships, that leaves like a space in between where the bottom of the last flight of steps hits the floor that you're specifically going to, where there's a space there because the steps do a square motion. And one time I was coming down the steps half drunk, trying to find my room in what is a maze of rooms that look identical and exactly the same. There's just like 20 kids just like tucked in between, like underneath the step in like a dark corner. I turn around and I thought I was about to die. Like I thought these kids were about to jump me. Like I was just in the wrong part of the ship. Like I thought, like for a second I turned around, they looked at me, I looked at them. I thought they were about to ask me like, Afghan or port gang. You know what I'm saying? And then, this the Portside podcast, so I had to represent. I'd just be like, look, port gang, and then they would shoot me or something or stab me with like the utensils from the buffet. No, but seriously, yeah, it's very surprising how the ship does a kind of weird transition between the day and night activities. But enough about this part. Let's get into the second, topic we're going to discuss here, which is going to be cool nightly activities that I've actually been to. So this is going to be like a nice one. All right, guys. So cool activities that I've been to. Right off the bat, one of the best nightly activities that lasted pretty long, at least until 12, if not 12:30 a.m. Like it was pretty long. Shout out to Norwegian Cruise Line. They throw like this EDM, and by the way, this podcast is not supposed to be like very accurate. Like I'm not supposed to be, at least I don't want to make this podcast come off as like my information is 100% totally accurate, and I'm going to sit here and have piles of papers where I can verify every single thing I'm saying to make sure it's acute for accuracy. And when I do that, I'll let you guys know that I have the information in front of me. But if you've been on Norwegian Cruise Line of the breakaway class or the getaway class, then you know that they throw like once every cruise, they throw this like huge nighttime like festival. It's amazing. Like I have to say, for somebody who honestly isn't even that into like the bigger parties, that party is amazing. It's effectively like a EDM slash glow. It's a glow party basically, and I think they call it that. I think they call it like the glow party or whatever. It's a glow party, so they hand out like different glow in the dark materials, like glow sticks and wristbands and such like that, and they just throw this really big party on the back upper deck. I think it's the 11th deck. It's in the back where they have the giant movie screen, which they do show movies on that, which is another thing I'll get into. But that specific, like the glow party, I think is unmatched. I don't think there is any cruise line I've been on, not Carnival, which is surprising because Carnival's the fun ships, but there isn't any cruise line I've actually been on that has nearly equaled anywhere near the glow party on Norwegian Cruise Line on the getaway and breakaway ships that I've been on. And I have to say, like, they're just like top tier. When it comes to just getting everybody involved, the staff was amazing. They made sure everyone was comfortable, that everyone could like dance. The music selection was very varied. Different pops, different hip hops, different, rock, you name it. And EDM, trap music, they were like, whoever the DJ is for these events is actually pretty cool. They used the giant screen to like show different parts of the music videos of the music they were playing. They had like a laser show, not a laser show specifically, but it was like they had lights going and everything. And what's cool about the way the Norwegian getaway and breakup is set up is that there's like a sitting area around the deck area where you would be dancing. So you can actually go and get a drink and sit down and just enjoy the music and time. This is like peak cruise nightly activity moment, and I think that a lot of the cruise lines honestly don't need to save these type of like bigger events for the later half of the cruises. They could just have casual nightly events happening in that area. And I feel like it's kind of a waste to not just utilize that area more often for the adults who decide to stay up late, and even encourage other adults to stay up later because these activities are going on at night. And of course, let me take a second. By encouraging the other adults and other cruisers to stay up later, you make more money. I understand that the staff, once again, needs to rest, and you might not have a lot of people who can work at that time, so you kind of want to keep the flow of cruisers kind of not all, scattered around the ship at different times. But I definitely think that like cruise lines have to take better like foresight and see the idea that like cruisers love these activities. Like they love the glow party on Norwegian. I loved it, and I would have hoped that they would just utilize that area better. Now to give attention to the Carnival cruises, Carnival nightclubs are the best. Period. And by the way, by saying that, I need people to understand that just because you can afford to pay for certain cruises doesn't mean that you would enjoy those certain cruises just because the money you can pay into the entry price is actually you think is gonna offer you so much better amenities and experience. Personally, when it comes to peer to peer and what I've lived through and something I'm familiar with in my life as a young person, I've had more fun on Carnival cruises, nighttime activities than I feel any other cruises, and it's by design. Like, I know the whole fun shit thing is a meme, not really, but like it's actually kind of true. Carnival has lower prices to entry for their older ships like the Elation and Fascination, right? Fair enough, those ships are extremely old. They were. And the cabins were extremely, outdated. And I'm talking about pre-fun ship. I mean, I went on all these ships pre-fun ship Splendor, the Willy Wonka purple pink like Wonderland. Like I went on the Elation pre-fun ship. I went the Fascination pre-fun ship. So I was really in the 1990s with the tube TVs and such in our interior cabins. But that's not the point. The point is that all of that cost very low when it comes to getting a ticket to go on the ship, right? So because of that, you invite certain clientele that those who may stick their nose up at certain types and characters of people wouldn't really appreciate. And it comes as a double-edged sword. I'm not saying that you're wrong for thinking that, maybe having too low of a price and inviting certain types of clientele of folk from all over America isn't really going to be the great kind of experience that you were expecting. I've had pretty terrible experiences when it comes to instances of differences when it comes to cultures, and I've had some bad experiences that I could talk about in a different video when it comes to like cruising on Carnival cruise lines that are very cheap. But I've also have to admit I've had the best experiences in the club, and I've had the best experiences. I've had the most experiences where I've gotten drinks for free, or just the bartenders have been really cool and really appreciative, and they've just been such a blast to kind of talk to and just get to know. And I think the people there was just some of the most like actively willing to have fun people I've ever met when it comes to my cruising career. So Carnival's cruisers, I think, were just over the top and how fun they were, and just how like the hilarity that would happen at night on Carnival cruises from just existing, just staying up and just watching, a lot of the drunk cruisers, regardless of age, young, old, you name it, they were just like the 24-hour pizza bar after you were done with the nightclub. You go upstairs to get some food, something to drink, 24-hour pizza, and then you just see all the people you were just at the club with, and a lot of people you didn't even know were still up at night. Everyone just moves upstairs to the to the poolside deck and just get some pizza. And it like the memories of those moments of enjoying my time with people I've never met in my life were like, geez, like it was so amazing. Like just reminiscing right now, like those people were so cool. Those people introduced me to one of my favorite drinks. I drink today, which is the old fashioned. I learned a lot from those people when it comes to just enjoying myself, not really thinking so deeply into like how I come off or how I look. They were just so open, and I feel like that's cool about the Carnival ship is that like everything that we brought everything that we deal with on land is kind of should be, in my opinion, thrown away when you're on the ship. It's like you're outside the country. You left all that behind when you left America, and here you're just here to have a good time. Everyone's here to have a good time. I think the carnival people were the most, as the young kids would say, lit out of the group of people I have ever hung out with on any one of the cruise ships. They're not the most varied. They're more of what I'm familiar with, but they definitely were people who I felt like if I had met them in any other location, like they'd be people I'd want to keep talking to and want to hang out with, like personally. I know I could have done that, but it's a situation where it's just like, this is cool for the moment, and then I'll just enjoy the moment as it is. But yeah, man, a lot of funny times happening on Carnival cruise ships at night for 24-hour pizza. That stuff is stuff you never forget. Like the adults who are just, I feel like I need to just have like story time, have like a whole like part just for stories on the ship. But after the topics, I don't want this to be too long, because then I'm not gonna want to edit it, and then episodes don't come out for months because of that. Sorry, but yeah, Carnival had the best nightclubs, had the best kind of DJs doing the nightclubs. I would have to say, Royal Caribbean has been a very on and off type of thing for me. Royal Caribbean, unfortunately for me, is just so family orientated. They're just so family like geared that I just feel like I just can't get a good grip on Royal Caribbean when it comes to like how they're deciding to do their nightly activities mode. Um, every Royal Caribbean ship I've been on, except for one, but that was in Europe. So the Rhapsody of the Seas was one of their smaller ships, one of their older ships, and the Rhapsody of the Seas did have a dedicated nightclub, but it wasn't really that fun. And it wasn't fun not because of the people or because of how the nightclub was set up. I just don't feel like I was on the cruise for that type of experience. And I actually enjoyed I instantly, like very quickly adapted and enjoyed the cruise and the nighttime fun for what it was. And because on that cruise, which was a Mediterranean cruise for 2 weeks, Rhapsody of the Seas, I ended up going with a friend on that one. So that one was lucky in that it was okay that the nightclub and the night activities weren't much at all. But I had a friend with me, so we were able to enjoy it regardless. It just kind of sucks sometimes because, you go home and you hype up cruising to everyone. Like, no, like, forget spending all this money going on a single location. Go to multiple locations, have fun, party all the way through, and just, cruising is like the way. And then, you go on the ship and the nightclub, night activities aren't that great. And your friend's like, I'm still enjoying myself. I'm like, that's good because, I kind of hyped up this kind of part of the cruise. So, Royal Caribbean, like, I can't, I just don't want to really, like, deal with, like, the like idea that like I am on a ship though that has a lot of families, and that is also their money maker, like the families. So it's a situation where it's just like I really wish that Royal Caribbean just had better like attention paid to those who could be solo cruising or those who could be cruising just as couples who are younger, or just me, only child who decides to go out and roam the boat at night and says, hey, what's going on over here? Although I did go on the Anthem of the Seas as well, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, the Anthem's sick. Like technologically, that ship is insane, and this is where Royal Caribbean hit the top mark for me when it comes to like how they plan their nightly activities for Anthem, which is totally different apparently from at the time from any other ship I'd been on. One, the Robo bartender, yeah, the Robo bar, amazing. Like it's just a cool thing to watch and also utilize. So starting a drink off with the excitement of having a robot make your drink, and realizing you have no one to complain to, that the drink's not strong enough, and it's like, man, this robot really jipped me on the Jameson here. But starting off nice though. That's really cool. Like the Anthem in itself is just a marvel of a ship, and I think everyone should try out like those technological like insane big ships, like the Marvel Disney. The Anthem wasn't even like a huge ship in Royal Caribbean's catalog. It wasn't that big, especially now that Carnival's dropping things like the Vista and the Panorama. And then like you have, um Norwegian Cruise Line with their getaway and breakaway class ships, but the Anthem wasn't like crazy big. It was just so cool. And one of the things that makes it so cool was one, the fireworks show, the nightly fireworks show, where they kind of have this show where it's like dancing and music and performances, and at the end they do like a virtual fireworks show on their robotic moving screens in the Anthem's H2O bar. I think that's what it's called, the H2O theater. Like I said, I'm not gonna go back and look this stuff up. I'm trying to go off memory right now. But that was sick. That was just mesmerizing. You just couldn't look away. You couldn't get up to use the bathroom. If you had a drink with you, you were just mesmerized by like what's happening. The screens are literally moving through robot arms to the music. Like it was really sick. And then right after that, shout out to the anthem of the season, just that whole cruise in general. Right after that, they decided to have a what was effectively a silent dance party. I remember this. It was like the headphone dance party where you all got headphones and you started dancing. You changed to different stations to get different types of music. And that lasted really long and that was really cool. So for me, it's always going to be like a situation where it's like the cruise lines have the power to try, but then I feel like they put so much effort into that specific event, so these like specific bigger events, that they don't understand that you could just do something simple. Like, how long did it take the cruise lines to actually figure out that they needed to have a 18 to 20 meetup? That I'm sure like a lot of 18 to 20-year-olds probably don't really go to or know even exist. But like it took a lot of convincing, I feel, for the 18 to 20 meetup to happen, because there was no 18 to 20 meetup when I was 18 to 20. Only when I became 21 to 24 when I started seeing like 18 to 20 meetups. I was like, well, that would have been nice when I was around, around that age. But it kind of gets to a situation for me where it's just like, I'm glad that they get that now. I'm glad that there's actively a effort being made by the cruise lines to pay attention to the younger cruisers, because like I said, these younger cruisers become the future dedicated like diehard cruisers. So you should really start creating activities specifically for them. And there are activities during the daytime for pretty much everyone. There's like different sports tournaments and such. There's different activities going on when it comes to like even bars, like $2 mimosas, which I mentioned in the is the drinking package worth it video. Yeah, Royal Caribbean for me, it's like an on and off type of thing. It's like a marriage. I'm just not sure I should leave yet. But if Virgin Voyages goes down in price, I might be leaving Royal Caribbean. I might have to drop them. Is what I'm saying. If I had to only have 3 cruise lines in my arsenal, if my experience on Virgin Voyages, if when I go, not if, you gotta think positive. When I go, to then support, the Portside podcast and do videos and live streams on the ship and talk to you guys, I feel like, at that point, I feel I can make a decision then to decide like, yeah, one of you have to go. But then again, who knows? I can literally go on the Oasis class of ships, which I haven't been on before either, and change my mind completely. Isn't this a great time, guys? This is a great time to be in the cruising industry. And I'm saying that, like, unfortunately, if COVID wasn't around, things would obviously be different. But in the cruising industry as it is now, I feel like there's a lot of build up. There's a lot of things to like decide on and look at. And who knows? Who knows? We could even be getting more and more and more coming in the future. So yeah, I mean, I'm really hopeful personally. Like, I really feel like there should be more more time put into extending cruise um the cruise activities into the nighttime. Basically, is what this video is pretty much about. It's what this podcast episode is about. I'm very hopeful that like they'll look into it. I'm probably gonna just assume that Virgin Voyages has figured something out for this. I don't know, and I don't spoil myself with like looking up a bunch of Virgin Voyages news and information, because I feel like I kind of want that raw experience that I had when I was younger and kept going on all these other cruise ships. Sometimes I would spoil myself. I definitely spoiled myself with the Anthem of the Seas, but I don't want to do that with the Virgin Voyages and the Scarlet Lady. So I'm kind of like relaxing myself a bit. Definitely, like, I didn't mention the Quest game from Carnival, I believe. The Quest game. The Quest game's a very, very out there game. I mean, like, when it came to the dating game, I think it's called like the marriage game that Royal Caribbean had. That was hilarious. Just listening to how different couples and different like husbands and wives knew their partner. That was pretty interesting. As somebody who's like young and single, like, wow, I'm gonna eventually know somebody to this level. Just know it. Just know it. And I like the fact that they didn't hold back when it came to some of the more M for mature rated questions that they decided to ask these couples. It was really cool. It was a cool experience. Even with my family, it was pretty hilarious, you know. So the quest is just out there. The quest was a nightly activity that they have towards the end of the cruise where they really, really go far. Like, all the locks are off, and I enjoy it. I love that kind of stuff. It's so interesting to see like the psychology of like how people would go about like different situations and scenarios, and how they'll get into something they don't really know what getting into. So now I know how the quest game works, so I would be hesitant to go into that. But you know, when you want to win, you want to win. And as far as I'm concerned, including any one of the listeners right now, if you've done the quest game, I feel like you are a champion, because to go through what they put you through in that game, I don't know how you guys do it. It's funny, and not funny in a laughing at you way. It's a funny in a laughing with you way. I really enjoy like those type of scenarios and the open-mindedness that comes from the cruisers when it comes to just trying to enjoy and have fun and nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much it. This literal episode is as long as an actual podcast episode. I have to relax because I have to edit this stuff. I don't know why I do this to myself. Let me know in the comment section. Give me some feedback. Send your emails to portsidepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know. I kind of want to start answering your questions as episodes to cough cough, lay off the effort on my end, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like these kind of conversations are just better for me because they kind of just go off the cuff and I don't have to like really focus in on a topic. I can kind of just talk about my experiences. So send me some questions, anything. I'll be able to answer you guys. You'll be able to get some feedback and know that I'm actually paying attention to you guys. This has been your host, TJ. This has been the Portside Podcast. Signing off. Hey there, listeners. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. But before you go, I just want to let you know, whether you're a content creator looking for exposure, a business owner looking to advertise, or simply looking just to give a birthday shout out, you can do so by contacting me at theportsidepodcast@gmail.com. This is your host, TJ, signing off.